Hey, what's up, Gator Nation? Welcome into the latest Gators Online show. Zach Albaverdi here, and we've got a special episode for you guys this week. Obviously, still a lot going on with the Florida football program as well as men's basketball. The Gators just had some big hires on the front office side this week that were officially announced. And then, of course, the men's basketball team back-to-back wins on the road versus ranked opponents for the first time in program history. So a lot of exciting things happening. We've got that covered all at gatorsonline.com. But on this episode for this week, we got to talk Florida baseball as the Gators get ready to open their 2025 season on Friday against Air Force, coming off back-to-back trips to the College World Series. The softball program also started their 2025 season and off to a great start as well. So none better to do that with this week than the voice of Florida baseball, Jeff Cardozo, who joins us now. What's up, my man?
What's up? It's as your intro and all that stuff, it makes me smile. Like there's momentum again, with obviously how football ended and basketball, and everybody's excited. And then now we have obviously the best sport out there to trump them all with baseball season starting. So good times for sure.
Well, then of course you get excited about this time of year, Jeff, because the cold weather goes away, and then you get to rock that Speedo around the community pool. And
heck yeah,
you wait for this all year long.
Well, the best is I kind of knew it was coming, and even though the groundhog said it was going to be 6 more weeks of winter, I was looking at ahead. So I ended up buying like 4 different color Speedos for the spring season. So ready to go, man.
Well, obviously, Kevin O'Sullivan had to go shopping in the portal this offseason. We'll talk about some of the new pieces. But let's talk about the guys that the Gators are bringing back, because hearing from Kevin O'Sullivan this week, it sounded like that was probably what he was most excited about, was the amount of returners that they got. And specifically, I know Sullivan Bortner in the press release called them the Fantastic Four, the 4 guys that decided to return after exploring the MLB draft waters and ultimately deciding to come back to school. What do you make of what Florida has returning first, and especially some of those high-profile guys?
Yeah, it's big, man. Obviously, you know so much about recruiting, and so many people that listen understand what that is for football. But for baseball, getting those guys back is almost like getting these 4- and 5-star freshman recruits, although they have now all this college baseball experience. So it's really encouraging. I don't think anybody expected Ty Evans to be able to come back. Curlin was draft eligible. You didn't expect him back. Colby Shelton was a guy that expected to be a one and done when he came to Florida last year. So he comes back. So it is exciting. I mean, and Heyman too. I mean, could have gone in the draft. So it is really special. And, I think as you look at all of them, Cade Curlin was hurt a majority of last year. He was playing through a broken hand and really wasn't the guy he was as a freshman. So dude still made all SEC second base. And I think that he's got the potential to have another really strong year. And then, as we sit there and talk about it, it's more of a veteran lineup. And I think some of the regular season struggles last year with some of the younger guys and trying to mix and match and see if they can figure it out in what's the toughest conference in all of college baseball, you're more now built with experience. And you've got a bunch of guys that have been there, done that, been a part of things. I mean, several, of course, as you mentioned, have been to Omaha a few times. So just that veteran presence and leadership and just the experience that all these guys are going to bring to the table, there's nothing they haven't seen. So that should make it a lot of fun.
And the Gators have 3 players that earned preseason All-SEC honors, including first-team honors for Cade Curlin, and then also second-team honors as well for Heyman and Shelton. I know hearing from the players and O'Sullivan, Jeff, that they're kind of liking what they have on offense, despite losing Jack Caglione. Some of the pieces that they added, and just they feel like they might be able to do more from a scoring standpoint instead of just having to rely so much on the long ball. What are your thoughts about that and what they could look like on offense this year?
Yeah, I think every year is always that struggle, because Sully, of course, understands what it takes to win the SEC, and that is power arms, power bats, just everything is. It's like when you and I go to the gym, it's like people look at us as like, man, that's power. Like that's what it's supposed to look like. and Sully tries to do that, but now it's maybe a little less than that. And certainly you don't have Cags who, 75 homers over 2.5 years to set the school record, and 35 a year ago. So you don't have that, but I think you have a lot of other guys that can certainly make that up. But you have a guy now that transferred in from Stetson, and Kyle Jones, who's the fastest dude on the team. So, I mean, you're looking at maybe 30, 35, 40 steals. I mean, that's the capability this guy has. Sear is more athletic and left than Shellnut. And, Tyler, if you watch this, I think even, you would say that's probably the case. But the one thing, though, Zach, who's the team that I hate the most out of any baseball team? Miami Hurricanes. So now I got to root for this dude that's coming in from Miami. But no, he's been great so far, and I think he's really fit in well. Just the athleticism there. I mean, you've got a guy at third and Bowser that's going to, be more athletic and do some different things too. So I really think top to bottom, 1 through 9, that's going to be a really lengthy lineup. You're going to be able to do a lot of different things through it. And, even though you may not hit 140 homers or close to what they did last year, you've got an opportunity to do different things for the bat, small ball, hit and run, which would then in Omaha be a better deal. You just now got to get through the SEC season with that type of stuff too. And that's not selling any of these guys short. I mean, there's probably 7 or 8 guys that can hit double-digit homers too. So I just think it's more of a balanced team than what we've seen the last couple of years.
And then defensively, one of your expectations for what they'll look like on that side, and I know that hearing from Kevin O'Sullivan this week, he seems to really like the options that he has in the outfield. He thinks that their depth just overall is a strength of their team, but especially in the outfield. He said it was going to be a difficult dilemma to figure out the 5 guys that are going to start there.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to be crazy. I mean, I think you pencil in Jones every day in center. Same for Ty Evans. You can't get his bat out of the lineup. And, even if we're talking about defense, I mean, Ty has come such a long way from a couple of years ago. I mean, there was a few game stretch where he couldn't even catch a fly ball in right field. And you're like, what the heck are we doing here? Like, I mean, this guy's never got a chance. And then, last year he's running down balls in postseason play and foul territory. And that's how he ended up getting hurt, crashing into the wall. So he's done a really good job there. And then I think in left is going to be that question mark. You've got Blake Sear, who we've already talked about, but Hayden Yost, who got hurt, but that dude can really hit, and he's athletic in the outfield. Ashton Wilson, who was the postseason hero a year ago, and he was kind of forced into to come and play. And then you got Justin Nato and another transfer coming in. It's going to be really interesting. And I would think all the Gator fans that show up early on, or you're tuning into the broadcast, you're not going to see the same lineup for probably 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, that's how much he is going to tinker with it, try to figure out who's going to be the best, who figures it out when they step over that white line. Because, Zach, it makes a difference. There's a big difference on doing it in practice against your own dudes, or when everything's flying around, you got to step over that white line and do it for real. And I think he's going to find out who can handle it. But defensively, I would expect them to do really well. I think Heyman's been so much better back behind the plate. So you've got a really nice, solid catcher there, certainly different than he was a year ago. So those are the best teams, man. Like the teams that have made it the furthest are the ones that can field it. And I think this team's got a chance to do that pretty well.
No doubt. Well, before we get to Jeff's favorite topic, which is pitching, let's get to an ad read real quick. And we got a really cool ad going on right now with myperfectfranchise.net. And they've got some exciting news with baseball season starting. Andy's a big baseball fan, and from his line of work, he's seen firsthand the fantastic traits that baseball players bring to the franchise world. Andy is offering a donation of up to $500 to $1,000 to Florida's Baseball NIL Collective if anyone on the Gators Online site purchases a franchise through myperfectfranchise.net. We think it's a cool opportunity to help the Florida baseball program, and now is the perfect time to contact Andy. His services are 100% free, and he's here to help if you have any questions about business ownership with franchises. Head to myperfectfranchise.net to learn more, and you can contact Andy anytime at myperfectfranchise.net or 404-973-9901. Jeff, if you were to own a franchise, what would it be?
As far as like a major league franchise?
No, like a business franchise, like if you had a Sonny's or you had I
Ah,
don't know, a Lululemon's shop. I mean, what would your franchise be?
ooh, that's a good question.
You probably,
I'd
I know
probably
you might go a food chain or that's an easy one.
yeah. So I'll go different then. I think it would be really cool to be like a like what Tiger's done with those mini putt places, like a Top Golf kind of place, like
Okay.
the mini putts with the bar, and so
Yeah, no doubt.
you send the kids to go play mini golf, and we can just hang out at the bar and watch some sports and kick back and enjoy a few cold ones. I think that'd
Have
be
you been to
fun.
one of those?
Yeah, a few times. They're actually really good. They're hard too. So it's a lot of fun. We need a putt putt back in Gainesville. So if anyone's listening and wants to invest in that, I'll help them out. That'd be sweet.
We got one out my way in High Springs. We got our
Yeah.
shout out to the Pink Flamingo, baby.
Heck yeah.
We got a little mini golf course. So, well, they don't want to hear about that. They want to hear about pitching from you, Jeff. What are we seeing from the Gators on the mound? Obviously, Liam taking it out on Friday night. O'Sullivan said that he's kind of earned the right to be that guy. Obviously, he said maybe last year was probably thrown into a role that maybe he wasn't ready for, but he feels like he's got all the stuff capable of being one of the best Friday night guys in the league.
Yeah, his stuff's legit. It's electric, and I think the thing with Liam has always been just can he figure it out mentally, and I think that's really the key for him. And there were some times last year where he really had to understand, hey, it's not always going to be easy. I mean, this is a kid that has dominated from really really long time ago, and it's interesting because I took my son and his team, 12-year-olds, to Cooperstown, which is that big trip for everybody. We ended up losing to go to the Final Four to Liam Peterson's team. So
Oh
I knew
wow!
Liam as a 12-year-old before he even became big. And even back then, he was wearing like the rec specs, like Chris Sabo goggles. So we used to like, who's this dork on the mound? And then he turns into a dude just throwing 98 like it's nothing. But I mean, he's got all the stuff in the world. Curveball's really good. If he can stay in the strike zone, there's not a lot of people that can hit him. And I just hope now, understanding now what it takes to do that on the big stage, whether it's, hey, let me step off the mound for a second and take a deep breath, or let me understand if I jam him and make a good pitch and he gets on base, I don't need to worry about that. I just go attack the next hitter. So I'm anxious to see early on how he can do, and he'll get 3 or 4 starts before having to go to Knoxville for that first SEC start. But I would expect some really good things for him, certainly.
And then Kevin O'Sullivan announced this week that Jake Clemente will be the Saturday starter and Pierce Capella will be the Sunday starter. And it's my understanding that that's a little bit of a change. I think that was initially planned to be the opposite. What do you think about those two guys kind of finishing out the weekend rotation?
Yeah, I think it's good. Listen, there's not a lot of Sunday starters in this league that are really, really electric, and Coppola doing that, I think, is a good thing. It's like kind of that situation with Jack last year. They always used him on Sundays, and obviously part of that was to help the hitting and some of the different things there. But there's not a lot of Sunday starters that were better than Jack Caglione. So you always felt that, hey, you got a chance to win on Sunday with this guy on the mound, and I think that's the way they feel about Pierce. And he's still trying to find it coming back too. And he made 8 starts last year, but never really went deep into the game. He's missed a couple of years, so he's got electric stuff if he can find the strike zone. So I really like that move to have him on Sundays. And Jay Clemente's got all the right mindset. As we're sitting there talking about Liam and competing and all that stuff, it's almost like you have to kind of ring in Jake a little bit, because he's that bulldog on the mound. It's step over that white line, it's balls to the wall. I'm going to compete. I'm going to win. I'm going to shove it right up your what. And that's the way he pitches. And I think that's what makes it fun. He was a really big part of that postseason run a year ago. He went up to the Cape Cod League and was very effective up there too. And that's the best of the best up there. And when you're getting a lot of recognition, then I think the one thing was with Jake, though, is just, can you do it all the time? I think he's now seen success and he understands it. So you can't take a week off. And if it's like, hey, if it's Air Force and, oh, they're not LSU, man, maybe I won't try as hard. No, you need to have that mindset of every single pitch means something. And I think if Jake can do that, then he's got a chance to be pretty special, just like a lot of these guys that have done it in the past for Kevin O'Sullivan on the weekend.
And then, Jeff, what are your thoughts on the rest of Florida's pitching staff, just the depth there, how much you feel like they'll be able to lean on some guys in reliever or closer roles, and also how much will it help and be kind of cool to have Michael Byrne working with these guys this season?
Yeah, we get to. I still have my Feel the Burn T-shirt from 2017, so I have to whip that thing out. No, it's always great. And obviously, Rivera is a part of the staff too. So now you're bringing a couple of those guys that's just understood what it took to win a national title. And gosh, Michael Byrne didn't throw hard. He was never a top prospect, but like talking about with Clemente a little bit, he just competed. He didn't want to lose. So I think you're trying to instill that mentality into a bunch of arms, Zach, that are just. It's stupid. Now, I mean, every single one of these kids are 95, 96, electric arms. And if they can figure out how to throw strikes, this might be collectively the best group of arms that Kevin O'Sullivan has ever had. I mean, you're talking about, so many different guys. And then, you got Frank Menendez back, who was really good at the end of that last year. Alex Philpott was a guy that they really liked. And then he sucked for a couple of weeks and then never got another opportunity. And now he's come back, put on a little bit of weight, and he's throwing mid to upper 90s. So there's so many arms on this staff that have a chance to contribute. They brought in another guy, Billy Barlow from Clemson. So I guess he sat in that other dugout and watched the Gators kick his butt and said, man, I got to go join those dudes if I want to do something special. So I think he'll be a veteran guy too, as we're talking about the transfers to maybe come in and contribute in a lot of different ways. Luke McNeely's back. I mean, that guy was really good at the end of last year too. So a lot of really young arms, but at least some of those guys got experience. And I think that's why you saw some of the midweek struggles and throughout last year, because there was a lot of young arms just trying to understand how to pitch at the college level. And now they get it, and they've been there, done that. They've been to the postseason, and they've been to Omaha. So I would expect those guys to be pretty good as well.
And then one last thing on the pitching, Jeff. This was the final question of Kevin O'Sullivan's press conference this week, and I feel like I've heard him talk enough about players, and I have a sense for how he tries to handle himself in the press conference. And Jeff, he almost had to watch himself talking about Aiden King because he did not want to speak too highly of him. What does Florida have there?
Well, it's electric. I mean, you're talking about a guy that had 144 strikeouts in high school last year, and it's cool because I can relate to it a little bit because my son was a senior in high school last year, and he was really good and all state and all this other stuff, and King's numbers just blew him out of the water. It was just insane. If you look at like the big league level and you take the high school and you expand it to 9 innings, he would have basically struck out 2 guys per every 18 guys in 9 innings. So 2 guys an inning. I mean, that's how effective and sharp he was. And he doesn't look like a freshman. I mean, he's obviously size-wise really big, but doesn't act like a freshman either. And yeah, I think you sometimes have to tone it back a little bit because, there's been guys over the years that you think are going to really do good and for some reason just can't figure it out when the lights go on or you step over that white line. But Aiden King is a guy that, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he's the closer to start the year and, certainly in line to have a ginormous season. But you get Christian Rodriguez back, who was a freshman last year that was supposed to be the closer, ended up having Tommy John surgery. He just started throwing a little bit. And 2 years ago, he was basically Aiden King. He was the best pitcher in the state of Florida for a team down in South Florida that ended up winning the state title as well. So they've got some dudes as far as young guys, and hopefully they can figure it out. But it's going to be exciting to watch for sure. And I think a lot of Gator fans are, especially if you show up to the park, you want to sit in that second section because one, you get to maybe run into Zach Albaverdi, but you get the free hot dogs and the cookies up there.
Right.
But I encourage you to try to go down, maybe sneak in right behind home plate or something, just when some of these dudes are throwing, just to hear the pop of the glove and just really get a perspective of how hard it's come. And you're like, holy crap, that's the hardest thing in the world to do is hit a baseball. And these guys throw it pretty well.
Yeah. Kevin O'Sullivan said that their weekend rotation is set, but if he had to start Aiden King on a Sunday, he'd have no issues whatsoever. So pretty high praise for a guy that has yet to even suit up in a Florida uniform. So last couple things for you, Jeff. We mentioned the transfers. Florida added 9. You've already just mentioned some of these guys. Which few guys would you say in your mind are expected to think make the most immediate impact on Florida this year?
Yeah, I would almost say Kyle Jones at the top of the order, just from the run tool is the best. I mean, he's quicker than anybody we've seen around here in a long time.
Wow.
And it's gonna pose a different threat at the top of the order. And as good as Michael Robertson was, gosh, remember a couple of years ago he made that catch to send the Gators basically to the championship series in Omaha. And this guy's quicker and gets a better jump on balls, really similar to kind of Judd Fabian, what he was able to do right before Robertson got in there. So really good there. And then I'm excited to see Bobby Bowser at third. This is a guy, when we go and play USF and broadcast, you're like, man, this guy's tough to face. And, I think he's come in, fit in right away, and just done a great job there. So the cool part is just the older guys, and you won't have those same issues that you had last year, people trying to adjust to the college game and just try to understand what's going on. You've got the ability to have a whole bunch of dudes that understand what's going on. And I think Sully realized that last year. So it was the plan to come in and have these guys fit in. And listen, you're never going to replace Jack. I mean, it's, again, probably, and Wilkie, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but this is the best guy in Gator baseball history for what he was able to do and the numbers and everything that was put up. But you're never going to replace him, but you can fill in other guys and change things around a little bit to kind of make it mesh. And I thought Sully and Chuck Girolamo and the rest of that coaching staff did a really good job of addressing positions of need and going out and finding it. And again, if anybody struggles, Zach, you've got now 3 or 4 guys that have experience, 2 that have transferred in expecting to start, and they're not even starting. And then 3 guys that played a lot at the end of last year that won't be starting either. So it's going to be fun, those early few weeks, battling it out to see who earns the time when SEC play rolls around.
No doubt. Got one more ad read to get to before we get Jeff's final thoughts on his expectations for this 2025 Florida baseball team. And before we do that, I want to encourage all Florida fans to head over to Rhoback.com for the best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Rhoback, they're completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rhoback just released their newly licensed game day collection, and it's fantastic. Novel polo designs, clean hoodie and Q-tips designs for some of your favorite schools, including the Florida Gators. Definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Use the code Gators20 on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off all new customers. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. 20% off all performance polos, shirts, shorts, and more with the code Gators20. And as we wrap up here on the Gators Online Show, Jeff, Florida obviously probably exceeded, where the expectations were by the end of the year, given how their regular season went. 2 games before it was over, they're sitting there at 26-26, and they go on that great postseason run. What are your expectations for this team heading into this year? Do you feel like they have Omaha potential? Is this a team that could be in the regionals for sure? Like, how do you view the squad?
Yeah, I know. I think at this point now, having seen Kevin O'Sullivan teams go 9 times since he's been the coach here, which is just nuts. That's almost the expectation now. It's not even making a regional anymore because he's done it every year that he's been here. And I think, if you're the University of Florida, who D1 Baseball said that they're the best program in the country over the last decade,
that's right.
Then that's saying a lot. And that means you should go to Omaha. And I think Sully and the rest of that coaching staff have those same expectations. They worked really hard to put this team together to make that happen. It's crazy though. Like we look at the basketball poll, and there's all these SEC teams in it, and you look at Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida right at the top. It's the same when you look at a baseball poll now. Yeah. It's A&M and LSU and Tennessee and Florida, and just
they got Texas in the league too.
Yeah, it's stupid how hard it is. So those 30 games in the league are really, really difficult. Normally it took about a 20-10 record to try to win the SEC, but it might be worse this year just because everybody's beating up on everybody, and I think everybody understands how good other teams have gotten. So that's just the expectation. But yeah, they'll be in contention. I would expect a much better regular season as well, with some of these younger arms starting to figure it out. But listen, I think that's why Florida's strength of schedule is always one of the toughest in the country, because the midweek teams that they're playing, the UCF, Stetson, UNF, USF, they're way better than what Tennessee or Kentucky, and they're playing these podunk schools from the middle of nowhere that nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah.
So the Gators get that strength of schedule throughout the year, and God forbid they lose a midweek game, everybody wants to fire Sully after that. But just chill out. It's a long season. It's a 56 game grind that I love, and gosh, it's kind of crazy now, Zach. I guess I started my first radio broadcast 2003, so it's more than 20 years now, and basically seen every Gator baseball game since. And this group's got to be as special as just about the best of them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Final question for you, Jeff. As the Gators get ready to kick off the season on Friday, what gives you the most confidence about this group? Like what are the things about this team that you just know or things that they have that are going to be good? And then what's your biggest question mark heading into the year?
Well, the confidence would be that word. You say what I'm confident in. I'm confident that they're confident. These guys aren't scared, and I think that's the coolest part. When you're around them, they understand now, and it's just they're huge. Like it used to be where even I walk in at 6'4", sort of skinny, and I'm bigger than a lot of these guys. And now it's just every single one of these guys are just absolutely ginormous. So they look the part. Now can they play the part? But I know mentally they're a very confident group, and this coaching staff makes them that way. I think they'll show up every day with an understanding of what it takes. Especially these now juniors that have been to Omaha the last 2 years. They haven't been able to pull it off. They've tasted it. They've been that close, and they certainly want to pull it off and get that second national championship. And then the other side is, I think it's throwing strikes. I think that's still the one iffy part of all of this. And when Sully first got here, certainly had a lot of success. They've always pitched well, but a couple of years that they didn't pitch well, they had issues throwing strikes. But then the next year, they always got better. And I think you saw that last year. They didn't throw a lot of strikes. It was frustrating at times. You're walking 5-6 guys a game. But we've now seen that happen twice. And then the next year after that, pitching staff's been really good. So I think they've got a chance to be better. But if they can throw strikes, then that certainly helps us, because the games are quicker. We're not sitting there cursing everybody to hurry up and quit walking guys. But it's not freebies on base. And I think that's what the key is to winning baseball: pitching and defense, and let the offense do its thing, which certainly they have enough firepower doing that. So I wish everybody an awesome season. Certainly happy Valentine's Day. So if all the ladies out there that are letting their hubbies or significant others bring them to the game, kudos to you. That's a great Valentine's present.
Well, so, there's a promo, right?
That's right.
they can come out and get a rose for their gal.
Heck yeah, that's what it is. Couldn't ask for a better way to kick things off.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned that too. That's a great point, Jeff, because talking to Sully this week, he said their issue last season was pretty simple. They walked too many guys and they struck out too much.
Yeah, they'll be better there too. I think Donay's been much better. Heyman's been much better. Curlin, I think, was hurt. So yeah, they won't strike out nearly as much as they did a year ago either. So that'll be awesome.
Well, Friday night, Condren Family Ballpark, 6:30 p.m. is first pitch, a 3-game series. Make sure you guys head over there if you can. Saturday's going to be awesome. You get the baseball game, then you get the night game in the O-Dome. Going to be an exciting time in Gainesville. Jeff, we're looking forward to your coverage. I know all the Florida fans around the state, they tune into that WRUF Listen Live app when they can't watch the baseball games on TV. So we're looking forward to it, and thanks for giving us the 411, my friend.
Yeah, Zach, always a pleasure, man. Take care.
All right, for Jeff Cardozo, I'm Zach Albaverdi. We'll see you guys next week.